Welcome to the Halliwell Manor. I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And we are here to discuss Season 6, Episode 13 of Charmed.
Used Karma.
Boo. Okay, I'm going to just put this out there right at the beginning. I genuinely think this might be one of the worst episodes of Charmed.
Right, okay, so you know where our bar is?
Yes.
This episode is so poorly written.
Okay, I feel like someone went into the Charmed writer's room and they were like, okay, you have to do an episode that's about karma, and also Phoebe has to be possessed by the spirit of Mata Hari and do a sexy, sexy dance, and you have to make those two things connected somehow. Because otherwise, I do not understand. Well, after watching this, I posted on Twitter, it feels like this entire episode of Charmed was written backwards from, Phoebe does a sexy French ghost dance, and someone's like, yeah, that's probably how they do it. They probably think of a center thing to focus the episode around, and then, build it out from there. And I'm like, okay, yes, that's true. That is probably how. But why karma, and why do they think this is how karma works?
Well, here's like they put the card on the board, but then they didn't actually write an episode around it.
But
yeah, no, there's two different things in here that are terrible. And one is like, so let's not get confused, because there's two different terrible things going on in this episode. One is this weird idea of karma being a thing that you inherit from your family. That literally makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like,
right.
Bad karma connects to other bad karma, because since Phoebe has bad karma from hiding her relationship to Jason, that mystically connects her to Mata Hari, who has bad karma from being a spy, which involves hiding stuff. I'm sorry. Phoebe finds a cursed amulet and she gets possessed by the spirit of Mata Hari. There. It took a second to figure that out.
You mean that's your pitch for an alternate way for her to be possessed?
Yeah, that's my pitch. She touches an amulet. She touches a vase. She touches some sort of spyglass. There we go. Spies. Woo, that's a thing. She casts a spell, to help her be better at concealing magic from Jason, and it gets her possessed by Mata Hari because she's the master spy. Like, why karma? It doesn't make sense. And also, why don't they know what karma is? I know this is before My Name is Earl, but
no, it still does not make any sense. Okay,
people were familiar with the concept of karma,
but let's put karma to one side,
mm-hmm.
because the Mata Hari stuff really bothers me as well, because they are portraying Mata Hari as like a woman scorned. She's like,
kind of. She hates the French but
also
men.
All men. Okay, Mata Hari may not have even actually been a spy. She is a...
Wait. You mean she might have just been someone the French could have blamed all of their military mistakes on?
She is a woman who was scapegoated and executed because she was an easy target, because she was a sexual woman. And I just feel like we shouldn't be maligning her more on a show about witches. Like, Mata Hari is from a long tradition of overly maligned women. And I don't want to downplay she might have been spying for the Germans. Okay, that might be true, but
in World War I, which if you're going to spy for the Germans is the war to do it in.
But she was...
it's still not great, but,
Yeah. But she was, vilified beyond anything that she may have even actually done, because it was easy, because she was a sexy dancer and a courtesan. So it was like, oh, evil woman. And I just, you know what we haven't talked about in a long time on the podcast?
What?
The effect of Constance and Burge leaving this show and Brad Kern taking over.
Wow, it has been a while.
This would not have happened under Constance and Burge. That's all I'm saying.
And if it did happen under Constance and Burge, I bet she would have made them find a Mata Hari outfit that looked like something Mata Hari would have actually worn.
Oh my god. Okay. Like, Phoebe's just wearing a mini skirt and a sports bra with, like, scarves stuffed into the elastic.
Okay. So, I know this isn't the sort of thing Charmed does anymore past the first season, but, like, you know who would have been a cool person to bring up here?
Who?
That Seven Veils lady from the Bible. The one who got John the Baptist killed?
Jezebel got John the Baptist killed. Salome had the 7 veils.
Oh, I thought Salome had his head cut off and then she made out with it. Was that not Salome?
No, you were right. You were right. It was Salome. Yeah, you're right. Salome, who did this dance of the 7 veils, also demanded the head of John the Baptist.
Yeah. Like, come on, do that. You know, Phoebe gets possessed by her. That's an iconic thing. And yeah, it's a little Bible-y for Charmed, but I mean, like, you did Muhammad in the first season. Prue used the hand of Muhammad to beat Javna.
Oof.
So, like, yeah, in retrospect, not great. But I'm just saying, you can take something from Christianity, too. There's a lot of cool stuff in the Bible that we can't really use in fiction because, you know, evangelical groups would get mad. But, like, you could do cool movies with stuff from the Bible. Although you could do really cool movies with stuff from Greek mythology. We do need to finish watching Chaos at some point. But, like, I stand by, if you did a series of Theseus movies, those would be awesome.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Especially update it a little bit, have him in the modern day. Like, have him still do, like, all the Theseus stuff. But, like, people like Percy Jackson, the books, and I guess to a lesser degree the TV show.
I mean, you're really closely describing Chaos.
Yes. Well, I'm just...
But not focused on the gods.
Yeah, not focused on the... And also, you know, you don't have to do Orpheus. Do I?
No, you do. You are legally obligated. Everyone who does a Greek story is legally obligated, apparently, to do the Orpheus story.
Which I like Orpheus. Orpheus is an iconic, you know, it's an iconic story, but it feels weird that there's been so much stuff that's been doing that recently.
It's just so tragic.
Yeah, and the people who did Hadestown, I saw a thing by them. Someone specific, but I don't remember who involved with the show, that was like, that's the thing about the Orpheus myth, is that you know how it ends. Everyone who goes to see this play is going to know how it ends, but you still hope. You go in and you still get nervous. You still don't want him to turn around, even though you know he's going to.
I mean, it's such an instinct. How do you not? It's so human, right? Like, in Greek mythology, people are usually brought down by hubris, right? Believing that they are equal to the gods. Orpheus's story strikes us as so tragic because he is brought down by being fundamentally human.
But also it's a good thing against spoiler culture, because it's a story that everyone knows how it ends. You know, he looks back, he doesn't get his wife out of hell. Like... Hades, which is not technically hell, I know.
I am so against people getting worked up about spoilers. I try to respect other people who do, and like I don't tell people things they don't want to know. I try to respect that. But I think everyone needs to chill about spoilers.
So it's okay that I can say that Aubrey Plaza's character in the Agatha Harkness show is definitely Stephisto, Mephisto's secret daughter.
Oh, that's the other thing. I was on Reddit, and I was actually reading the Agatha All Along subreddit, and people were marking their theories spoiler. I'm like, it's not a spoiler
if it's a theory
that you're guessing what's gonna happen.
Also, by the way, if your theory spoiler is that she's Blackheart because she said the phrase Blackheart like 7,000 times, then yeah, she's probably going to be Blackheart. Like, they weren't subtle about it, which makes me think maybe it's going to be a twist. But also, you know what? That's what we thought with WandaVision, and then it was basically just exactly what you thought it was. Also, I keep seeing mild spoilers for the Agatha Harkness show. But if you're at all familiar with Agatha Harkness to the degree that this would be a spoiler, then you already know they're going to be in the show. I keep seeing people theorizing on who the Salem 7 are, and I'm like, why wouldn't they just be her grandkids like they are in the comics? Because people are like, oh, I bet it's her coven, or it's her coven brought back to life, or oh, I bet it's like the grandchildren of her coven, and I'm like, why wouldn't it just be her grandkids? Like, it's clearly a show about the relationships between mothers and children.
Yeah, no. I think maybe people are speculating just because the way that they all had kind of a uniform look when they showed up.
Yeah.
As opposed to the comic book.
Yes, where they are very different and, I'm sorry, Agatha, but frequently very stupid looking.
They do not have a team look. They are not pulled together.
Well, you don't think Snakes for Arms lady, the lady with snakes for arms, looks a lot like Minotaur guy or Gazelle lady?
Their theme is not pulled together. It's a problem for me.
But they are also all specifically related to animals, and we keep seeing animals. And
yeah.
You know what? This isn't about that. I'm just saying, like, don't be surprised if the Salem 7 in the Agatha Harkness TV show turns out to be the Salem 7 from the comics.
Yeah, this isn't Welcome Back to Westview.
Yes, we're not doing a sequel podcast. We're just going to enjoy it this time.
Yes.
So at the Halliwell Manor, we have just finished a very awkward-seeming dinner. Oh my god, what the fuck is Jason doing with his arms?
He's like leaning back like a sexy cool guy. He's got his hands behind his head. He's leaning back.
Okay, I know that this is a, shorthand for I have just finished a good meal with friends, but he's so awkwardly posed with his arms behind his head, like, this is not a thing people do in real life.
I do that sometimes when I am working and I need to stretch out my back.
Okay, but do you just do that for a long time in a social setting?
No, I stretch out my back that way. But he's stretching out his back because he just had a good big meal.
Yep, with Paige and Richard, and I love you, Balthazar Getty, but oh my god, this episode does Richard so dirty.
Okay, so first of all, I feel so bad for him. I was just like, this is the most awkward couples dinner ever, and if I was him, I would just want to get out of there.
Well, it's that one episode of Friends where Phoebe leaves Paul Rudd's Mike alone with Ross, and the two of them have to have, like, a guys' night together, even though they're completely, like, they're not even opposites. They're just two people who don't have personalities that would get along at all.
Yes. I mean, my issue here, though, is that Paige is pressuring Phoebe to tell Jason that she's a witch, and I just, even, like, that is a conversation to have in private, Paige.
Yeah, this is not a conversation you do with two other people in the room.
And Paige is like, Richard, say the thing I told you to say. And Richard's like, so I hear you have good karma as a businessman. Do you believe in karma? What do you think about magic? And it's like, to quote another Phoebe adjacent line, but you've met people before, right?
Like, I feel so bad for Balthazar Getty because this is some of the worst writing we've seen in Charmed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, specifically his weird thing with karma. And I think that Balthazar Getty is frequently a good actor in this series. Honestly, this is the main thing I know Balthazar Getty from. I learned his name for this, so I'm going to be saying it a lot. But, like, he has to give these awful things, like, these weird speeches about karma and, like, how his family has bad karma, which means that he's going to bring misfortune to everyone in his life. And it's like, Balthazar Getty is not a good enough actor to make these speeches good. But then again, like, he is, like, swimming upstream real hard here.
I think everyone this week is living down to the writing.
Yeah.
And we don't have Daryl or Chris this week, so there's just, like, no break. just a little exposition that gets slipped in, by the way, is that the next day, Phoebe and Jason are supposedly going to France together.
Mm-hmm.
And... which is because then she gets possessed by Matahari, who
hates the French.
And also, Jason has a big merger coming up. He's got to get to work on this business case that is so important to him.
Yes, this is a big merger. This is the largest merger between an American company and a French company ever.
And it's super important.
Yeah, Paige pulls Phoebe into the kitchen to yell at her for not revealing that she's a witch to Jason before they both go to France.
For not making the dinner super awkward by telling Jason that he lives in a world where magic exists and she is one of the charmed ones. Like, you know what? Now that I'm saying it out loud, maybe I do want to be at that dinner party.
So, Phoebe's like, I should wait until after he does the biggest merger ever to do this because I don't want to, mess him up by revealing that magic is real and everything that he knows is a lie and the world is a different place than he thought it was. Like, maybe I shouldn't do that right before the biggest business deal of his life. And Paige was like, there's always going to be a biggest business deal of his life. Which, I'm sorry, Paige, I think is bad reasoning.
I just want to point out, since we talked about how bad the writing is with Karma and how bad the writing is with Matahari, that I just want our listeners to know that we're not simplifying things for their benefit. Like, literally, it's just like, the merger. They did not flesh out what this business deal is at all. It is
the biggest merger between a French company and an American company ever. What kind of companies? Who knows?
What needs to happen for this merger to happen? I don't know. Why are the press hounding him about the merger? Great question.
So Leo orbs in and he's like, hey, Piper's getting murdered by some demons in a hive somewhere. You should probably go, stop that from happening.
So they orb away. Paige and Phoebe orb away.
I feel like they did not get enough information about where they needed to go.
I feel like that too, but I'm gonna let it pass because they'd come into the kitchen so that Paige could yell at Phoebe, but presumably so that she could also get the cobbler and coffee for dessert. And they pass that off to Leo, and Leo walks out of the kitchen, and Jason's like, Leo, what are you doing here? And Leo's just like, getting dessert. Did you want some? And I do. Okay, that's the one moment in this episode that I genuinely love.
Yeah, and Jason's like, where are the women we're both dating? And Balthazar Getty's like, tidying up.
He's like, they had an emergency they had to deal with. He's like, they always have an emergency they had to deal with.
They had an emergency while they were in the kitchen for 15
seconds.
Happening?
Anyway, but they, like you said, they didn't get enough information about where Piper is, but somehow they still orb to her. And she's fighting these drone swarm demons that every time you blast them, two more appear.
And Phoebe's like, I know, I'll blast them. And she goes and she channels their powers back at them with empathy, because that's something she can do. And then she's like, see, look, when I took them down, two more didn't appear, and then two more appear.
Yeah.
And Paige is like, okay, let's just leave. This feels like something we're gonna need to look up in the Book of Shadows.
Yeah. And they orb back into the kitchen where Jason is standing going, why are they always disappearing? And then they reappear, and then he faints. Like this is a 1960s sitcom or something. Like he's Darren fucking Stevens over here.
Okay, so I was gonna say two things. Firstly, this is the first time where someone has ever caught them via them orbing, something they do constantly and in public.
It's true, they don't care at all.
And second, you have 7 different ways to wipe someone's mind. I know that they've been wanting to put, they've been wanting Phoebe to come clean to Jason or whatever, but if this is going to be an issue, white light or memory dust. a memory charm. These are not difficult things.
Okay, so I'm actually glad you brought that up because when we talk about the karma, Phoebe supposedly has bad karma because she's been lying to Jason, but also she's supposed to maintain the masquerade.
Yeah.
Like, what are the rules?
Yeah. Like, you're not supposed to tell people about being a witch.
We had a whole episode about how telling people that you were a witch was going to end up getting you burned.
We had 2 episodes because in the episode where Prue dies, that's what happened. Like, Piper gets shot by a lady and Phoebe has to go to the underworld to get Kronos to reverse time.
Yeah!
Like, and since we've been talking very poorly about this episode, and because it is one of the worst, I do want to say, like, I went back and the season 3 finale is still really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, I legitimately think that it might be the best episode of Charmed.
I mean, rewatching this series through, we have found some gems. This is not one of them, though.
Yeah.
This is terrible. It's, like, bad. It's bad.
So, the song at the beginning, when they're, doing the 7 million shots of San Francisco, the song is really, really about what the episode is about.
But it also sounds so weird and generic that I feel like it's a fill-in song.
But it, like, directly relates to what's in the episode, which is where it's a breakup song.
Yeah.
About how, you know, my man found out that I'm a witch and now he can't trust me anymore.
Okay, so we have, when we're done with all of the shots of San Francisco, we have Phoebe staring longingly out the door of the manor where presumably Jason has, like, stormed off. And then we get a shot of her closing the door. And the thing is, the door of the manor closing, like, at the end of each season is such an iconic thing. It feels gross that Phoebe's doing it over a man.
Well, I mean, sometimes you just have to close the door.
Yeah, but...
Also, you're not going to talk about the cartoonish car pulling away noise they play.
Oh my god! But also, just to quote the TikTok sound, he's not the love of your life. He's literally just a man. Hit him with your car.
Oh my god. I mean, he's the Riley of this show. And I guess this is the vampire. Okay, so he's the Riley of the show, and Phoebe orbing in front of him is the vampire prostitute. I guess, if we're...
By which you mean the thing that the writers just had to do that made no sense just to get rid of a character that nobody wanted anymore?
I guess the ghost of Matahari is the vampire prostitute.
Woo.
So Phoebe sits down and she's like, I can't imagine what Jason's feeling right now. I mean, I could, because I'm an empath, but...
I mean, right? Like, why would you give her that line? She's literally an empath.
And, you know what? I think this scene proves that Richard should have married Paige, or Paige should have married Richard, rather, because he immediately takes the situation and makes it all about him. He's a true Halliwell.
Well, okay, no. To be fair, like, they're blaming him. They're like, how come you didn't keep him out of the kitchen? He's like, it's my karma. My family has such bad karma that I fuck everything up. Pretty convenient. Pretty convenient, Richard.
Well, Piper points out that that's not how karma works, and he's like, yeah, it is. Someone does something bad, and then that person or someone they're directly related to pays the price. And Phoebe's like, not really the second part? And he's like, no, it is. I have bad karma, and that's why Phoebe's boyfriend found out she's a witch and overreacted to it.
I mean, to be fair, it does, I guess, kind of explain how these women are supposedly good when they do so much bad shit.
Oh, you think Graham's killed enough demons so that the... Or, I mean, okay, I talked about this with you a little bit, and I'm going to talk about it again here. There was a comic I really liked, which you should look up. It's been a little while, so it might not have aged great, but it's called Darwin Carmichael is Going to Hell. And it's about this guy who, in his youth, made a mistake, which got him so much bad karma that he is going to immediately go to hell upon death. Like, this this takes place in a world where, like, kind of all mythologies are real and everyone's very aware of their karmic status.
And you can just see your points total.
Yeah, basically. So the whole series is sort of about him trying to atone for this thing that he did, which was honestly not very bad. He wasn't paying attention to a kid he was babysitting, and the kid got really, really hurt, and then that kid turned out to be the Dalai Lama, so, like, he got, like, an insane negative karma for that. And a lot of the comic is about how this is an unfair thing.
In the law, we call that an eggshell plaintiff, which is that if you injure someone and they take more injury than a person normally would, given the actions that you've done, you're still responsible for that.
Yeah, because he was babysitting a very small child, and he went to make out with his girlfriend, and the kid fell out of his high chair.
Uh-huh.
And his best friend is someone who, through she basically lucked into getting insanely good karma, although luck is probably the wrong word. A very specific tragedy happened to her that landed her a bunch of, like, an amount of karma that, you know.
Uh-huh.
So she just felt like she could do anything. And she points out she is a much worse person by her actions than her friend who's definitely going to hell. But since she has this, you know, huge amount of backlogged good karma, it doesn't matter. And that got me thinking, killing the source is kind of that for the charmed ones, right? Like,
oh, okay. I mean, yes, that's the thing they did, though.
yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah. I know they talk about the family or whatever, but no, they killed the source of all evil, which kind of gets them a blank check to do whatever in the future.
I guess, yeah. Yeah. And so in the morality of this show, they can do whatever they want now. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oof.
Although, I do appreciate that both Phoebe and Piper point out to Balthazar Getty that that's not how karma works. I'm sorry I'm not going to be calling him Richard anymore. Balthazar Getty is just way more fun to say.
Okay, but by the end of the episode, just to jump ahead a little bit, Piper's like, oh, Wyatt's so lucky that he's inheriting all of our good Halliwell karma. He has so much good karma now.
I mean, she is still worried about him turning evil.
Yes. For good reason. I'm just saying, like, they do get, like, Richard gets them confused about how karma works. Oh.
So, they need to try to figure out how to kill these swarm demons because they're the last demon on the list of demons that Chris gave them that are a threat to Wyatt. And it's like, isn't every demon a threat to Wyatt? Isn't that how that works?
I think that Chris came with a list of demons he thought might have been the ones that turned Wyatt evil.
Mm.
And so they're the last ones on that list that Chris provided. But first, Piper has to freak out at Leo because he's tucking Wyatt in with a red blanket. And instead of her freaking out because you're not supposed to put bedding on babies.
Yeah, that's totally where I thought that was going. Although I guess he's old enough now.
Yeah, I guess he can roll over on his own, so it's okay. She freaks out because she's not using the red blanket anymore because red is an angry color, and she doesn't want him to use the red blanket and turn evil. She's using a blue blanket now.
Yeah, Leo's like, my grandmother made that blanket. And Piper's like, Leo, no she didn't. You lost all of your mortal possessions when you...
Right? But anyway.
But also, if you can sleep with the fucking blanket, Leo. Did we mention that Phoebe isn't helping them with the swarm demon because she needs to go talk to Jason?
We did not, but that's the fact.
Yeah. Piper's going to check on Wyatt before they go back to, finding out how to kill the swarm demons for good. And, yelling at Leo. And I know I mention this every episode. Why are they not together? I mean... Yeah, she's screaming at him for no reason, but... That
was what their marriage was, too. That's their whole relationship.
And he's here all the time. We need to stop mentioning that, because it's going to be a thing going forward. But just kind of take as read that Leo and Piper are basically still together.
I mean, he condescends to her and tells her she's overreacting, and she yells at him, so that's their relationship, right?
Yeah. She also tells Leo to take Wyatt up to the elders until they're done dealing with the last problem, although she's very clear that, Chris said it was the last problem, but it's not the last problem.
Well, I mean, the reason that we supposedly don't have Chris this episode is because Piper essentially sent him to make a new list of evil demons. Like, go find some more evil demons and make a new list of things that might hurt Wyatt.
Piper asks if the elders can, do some sort of blessing on Wyatt to stop him from becoming evil, and Leo's like, no, because of free will. But also, Leo, people turn evil all the time against their own will,
in this world.
In this world, I mean, honestly, if there is
he got hit with a wand last week that reversed his morality, like it was polarity on a magnet or something.
Yeah, this is a pretty real threat. If the elders could put some sort of protection thing on him that would stop that from happening, I don't think it's unreasonable of Piper to ask. Boy, she's really lucky nobody told her about the David and Mary Margaret filling someone else's baby with all of your baby's evil and then throwing that baby into a deathbed thing, because Piper would be on top of that so fast.
She would. Oh my goodness. All right, up in the attic, because Piper's not up there yet, Paige and Richard are talking, and Richard's like, hey, Paige, I know you don't want me to do magic for reasons, but can you do a spell to clean my karma off? And she's like, no, karma is the building block of the universe. Therefore, we can't mess with it or it will have huge repercussions.
Okay. Paige, one of the first spells you cast in this show was an instant karma spell. Theoretically, I'm just putting this out there, if you cast that on Richard, and then something bad happened to him because of whatever, and then he wouldn't feel guilty anymore because the karma happened instantly to him.
Okay, but considering the amount of bad karma he thinks he has because of his family, I think he might die.
Ooh, yeah. You think it's defined by what the person thinks they deserve and not what the person casting the spell? Or do you think it's a morally neutral thing that just causes karma to enact on you at the moment instead of just waiting karma normally?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so do you think that Richard is correct here, that Balthazar Getty is correct here, and that he does actually have that much bad karma stacked against him because of what his family did?
In the world of the show, yes.
I also want to point out, you were the one who ended the conflict between the two families.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be getting good karma for stopping an intergenerational war that has claimed the lives of many, many family members on both sides?
Apparently not. Or I guess it wasn't enough to offset it.
So Piper's like, so your boyfriend seems super stable right now. And Paige is like, oh, you want to talk boyfriends? So
Paige has found the swarm demons in the book, and it turns out that
they work like the Kazi, which, good continuity. She says they're like a subgroup of the Kazi, which means that they have a king, and the king is connected to all of the minions, so to kill all the minions at once, we just need to kill the king. But he needs a power of 3 spell.
So Piper wants to go get Phoebe and vanquish him immediately, but Paige is like, no, let's just stake him out, figure out where he is, let Paige fix her relationship with that mortal she's dating, and then we'll come get her once we've got this all worked out. And so they leave Jason alone in the attic with the book.
Balthazar Getty.
Richard. They leave Richard alone in the attic with the book, which, as you pointed out, he can touch!
Yeah, he goes over and he touches it, which, that's how you know you're not evil, Richard. You can touch the fucking Book of Shadows. Moral dilemma solved.
It's kind of like in Buffy, in the episode Family, when there's all this angst about is Tara evil or not, and then
is she part demon?
And then Spike is like, oh, I gotcha, and then he tries to hit her, and he gets a headache. He's like, there you go, not evil, done.
I like how that makes no sense to Tara's family. Because they don't know that the government put a chip in Spike's brain that stops him from hurting people who are purely human.
And then her cousin is like, but if we're not a family of demonic women, why do I have such bad luck?
Oh my god, yes.
That's a super deep cut for y'all. I'm referencing the fact that the cousin and family is played by Amy Adams, who in an early episode of Charmed played the Irish lady who had super bad luck.
Marie Murphy, something Murphy.
Oh.
Irish name Murphy.
So,
who is unlucky despite being Irish.
What a
weird premise for an episode.
What a weird premise for a magazine article. That was what the magazine feature was going to be.
And then after they helped her, it was an article about a woman who used to be unlucky. Maggie Murphy.
Slow News Week. Slow News Week.
Wasn't it a fashion magazine too? That was
No, I think it was like a weekly, like the Portland Mercury or like the Seattle Stranger.
Or like the Bay Mirror, except it was a magazine.
The Bay Mirror is not a weekly, is it?
Oh no, it might be a daily.
Yeah, no, the Bay Mirror is like a daily paper.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a magazine, right? That Brew worked for.
Yeah.
It was like Hot 72 or something.
It was the area code for San Francisco, but I don't remember what that area code is.
God, everyone worked at cool magazines in the late 90s and early 2000s. That was such a late 90s and early 2000s job.
Now cool magazines don't even really exist anymore.
Yeah. What would Khadijah do in a modern version of...
Well, she'd run a website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although even that really is...
Yeah, not a thing anymore.
Anyway, Phoebe went back to Jason's apartment to try to convince him to stop being freaked out about the fact that magic exists. Like, just grow the fuck up, Jason. There's magic. Deal with it.
I think they might be in the office.
Oh, you're right. Speaking of the Bay Mirror, they're in the Bay Mirror office.
A lot of continuity this episode because he is shrieking and shrieking at her about, the Godiva girls. Were they magic? And she's like, the three women who were dancing? Yeah, they were.
He's like, what about that short guy at your house that you said was your cousin? And she's like, yeah, he was a leprechaun.
And not my cousin.
Yeah. And you know what? I normally get really into all this, when shows remember continuity, that's like my jam. So the fact that I hate this, that just speaks to how poor this episode is.
Yeah, well, he's like, when you said, I love you too, was that magic? Were you using magic to read my mind? And she's like, a little bit. But I do love you. And he's like, I don't have time for this. I have a big merger tomorrow.
I can't believe you would spring this on me right before my big merger meeting.
I'm speaking in front of 100 shareholders. I'm sorry, it's a French media merger.
He also says it's the second biggest merger of the decade, which is like, my second biggest chart. You're already giving us no details.
Also, of the decade? Why couldn't it be the biggest merger of all time? That's what I remembered it being.
No, it's the second biggest of the decade.
And I know specificity is,
the heart of comedy?
Yes.
This isn't a comedy.
Yeah. So, Paige and Piper are wandering around the maze where the swarm demons live. And they almost encounter some, and Piper goes to blow them up. And Paige is like, that doesn't work, remember? Piper seems like she forgets that she has the ability to freeze again. She does use it later this episode, which is nice because it does feel like a while. Also, I want to point out I do really like Holly Marie Combs' pregnancy hiding ponchos they've had her in this episode.
Yeah, it is really a cute look for her. But Paige just wants to get back to the manor because she's concerned about how long she has left Richard alone for, and it's like, girl, do not be in that relationship if you're worried about leaving Richard alone. What the fuck? But I guess it's right, because he's up in the attic copying down a spell from the Book of Shadows, the Aura Cleanse spell, but rewriting it as a Karma Cleanse spell.
I mean, why not cleanse your aura anyway? That's not...
That's not how any of this works!
Yeah, that's not how any of this works.
Honestly, that gif is just my review of this episode.
Windmills do not work that way.
Okay, so he casts the spell, and then he gets surrounded by magical light, but the light's like, oh, fuck this guy, Phoebe's home. And, like, literally the light runs away from him and jumps into Phoebe for reasons?
Yeah.
Like, we don't even bother to explain it.
Oh, but we see the light, like, when Jason casts the spell, we get, like, a stock image of the Earth, and we see white light coming from all around the Earth, and then zooping down to where Balthazar Getty is, and then shooting past him into Phoebe. Like, why?
Okay, so we see an image, which I did not realize until this very second, is supposed to be one of Phoebe's past monitions.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the first time in a while we've seen a premonition, or in this case, past monition, of Phoebe's. Like, it feels like it's been forever since she's had a vision.
Okay, because I didn't even think that was a vision. What happens is we see the firing squad execute Matahari from her point of view, like with the guns pointed straight at the camera, and then the light zoops into Phoebe, and now Phoebe's possessed by Matahari. I thought we were just seeing, like, I didn't think we were seeing one of Phoebe's visions. I thought we were seeing from Matahari's point of view.
Which would have made sense.
Like, this is the last moment she saw. Oops, now she's inside Phoebe.
Yeah, but the way they use the same
Vision filter.
Yeah. So I guess we're assuming this is a vision Phoebe is having while getting possessed?
Sure. Anyway, Piper and Paige are home. And
After a night of just murdering drone demons, because, I mean, the logic's not terrible here. Like, eventually you do run out of drones, and the king will have to come out of hiding.
I guess.
Is he giving birth to the drones?
I think he is. I think they're, like, sporing off of him.
But also he does feel it when they die, like the Drazies. So.
Yeah, so he's real pissed at them for killing, like, 17 different drones.
Yeah, because that hurts him, so...
Yeah. And then Phoebe comes down the stairs in the outfit that I described earlier, which is the sports bra and miniskirt with scarves tucked into the elastic.
It looks so bad. You couldn't find an image of Matahari. It's not even... Like, A, Google existed at this point. Google was a thing. And B, like... even without Google, there are pictures of Matahari you could look at and then build outfits around.
I mean, part of me is like, okay, this is what Phoebe had in her closet.
It's not a magical outfit.
Yeah. But, like, also I hate it.
I maintain if you were doing a Salome, the scarves thing would have worked better.
Yeah, I guess. It really feels like a little kid playing dress up in their mom's closet the way she has the scarves tucked into the elastic.
Oh yeah, the whole thing feels aggressively low effort.
She is speaking French, and Paige is like, why are you speaking freedom fry?
Well, I think we got our time freeze for this episode.
All right. And then Paige is like, oh, right, because you love French things. And Phoebe's like, no, I hate France. And they're like, okay, I thought you loved France. And she's like, oh, right, yes, I love France.
I, Phoebe Halliwell, the witch that lives in the modern age, sure do love France. And my boyfriend, Jason. She runs out in her high heels and, scarf thing. I do appreciate that, like, as soon as she runs out the door, Piper's like, she casts a spell on herself, right? And Paige is like, a spell if we're lucky. Like, they don't think that this is just Phoebe acting weird. They've recognized that clearly something magical is happening here.
But they are not concerned.
I mean, at this point in the show, Also, it's Phoebe. Does anyone like Phoebe at this point in the show? I guess Piper probably likes her more than...
I mean, not Jason anymore.
So, the Swarm King is all pissed off that the Swarm didn't successfully kill the Charmed Ones, so he blows up the Swarm leader, or the leader of that battalion of the Swarm.
Uh-huh. he tells his swarm, his minions, like, all right, so time to bring the fight to the Charmed Ones.
Speaking of the Charmed Ones, Paige is telling Piper that she bets that Phoebe's bad karma that she got for lying to Jason about her being a witch attracted someone else's unfinished bad karma, and that it must have drawn that person into Phoebe because that's how karma works.
Well, she makes this leap because the Book of Shadows is open to the Aura Cleanse page, and she's like, oh, Richard wanted to take a shortcut about cleansing his aura, so he must have, or cleansing his karma, so he must have modified this spell, cast it, and then it fucked up Phoebe, which is accurate, but quite a leap.
Yeah, like, you're right, but I'm not sure how we got from point A to point B there.
So apparently, if you have a lot of bad karma, and then you die, and your death isn't bad enough to, like, be as painful as all of the karma you have coming to you, like, your unfinished bad karma just floats around the universe.
Looking for someone who has similar bad karma to possess so that you can work it out.
So that bad things can happen to the person you've possessed? Anyway, Paige storms into Richard's mansion and is like, you cast a spell out of the Book of Shadows! And he's like, yeah, I did.
I really like Paige's jacket here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you would call it exactly.
It's military style. It's cute.
Yeah.
I mean, Rose McGowan's always cute on this show.
Yeah, but sometimes they have her dressing in, I was going to say literal garbage because of that outfit. Do you remember the one that was like a Dayglow plastic bag over a white shirt?
Yes.
So she has this weird conversation with Balthazar Getty about how, like, maybe he has bad karma because he has so much bad karma that there's no room for someone else's bad karma, and somehow that got Phoebe possessed by the ghost of Mata Hari, and that, like, practicing magic is making his karma worse, and he's like, then how can we be a couple if doing magic means bad karma and you're all about magic? I like, what?
I don't know how we got to him not being allowed to do magic. Like, we were just expected as an audience to get on board with the magic is bad for him because his family was evil, even though he never was tempted to evil. In fact, he broke away from his evil family, so if anything, he should be more trusted with magic than Phoebe, who goes evil at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, like, you came up with a much better pitch for this plot, which is that in the initial episode with Richard, he had stopped practicing magic while his family was, after his girlfriend was killed in the, war between the two families. He stopped practicing magic, and therefore all of the curses the other family casts stopped affecting him.
Yeah, I was saying, like, have there be a family curse, or several curses on the family, that are attracted to him whenever he's doing magic. And then you could even have a couple of episodes where he does something magical and it backfires spectacularly, but nobody puts together right away that it's because he's doing magic that these things are happening. And then that's the cleanse he needs to do, not this weird karma thing.
Yeah, because as this episode brings up, the rest of his family stopped doing magic after he ended the feud.
Right, so he would be like the lightning rod for the family curses.
Yeah, like, there are so many cool things you could have done with this character if you wanted to do this plot.
And then you could have had a couple episodes where he tried to deal with the family curses by just not doing magic, and then realized that's impossible because if you are a witch, you can't just not do magic.
What are you, Sabrina in the last 3 seasons of Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
And then you could have had an episode where he has to undo the curses. Like, there you go. You got your little Richard arc. But no,
Yeah,
we get
little
this
Richard.
we get this nonsense instead.
He goes to see his brother about a potion that undoes possessions due to karma poisoning.
Yeah, because they figured out that Phoebe was possessed, so
Yeah.
he wants to fix it by getting a potion.
And the brother's like, I thought we agreed no more magic. That's why we all disagreed with you dating Paige, even though she's, because she's a witch and therefore you'd be tempted to do magic. Which, why did the rest of the family stop doing magic? You know you can stop having a feud where you try to murder the other family without, like, you can keep doing magic.
Like, the show is clear that witches and mortals are different. You're inherently magical creatures. You can just stop being dicks without abnegating your entire existence.
Seriously.
Unless, I guess, are you that much of a dick? Are you like Roger in American Dad, where being nice will literally kill you?
But yeah, he wants the anti-karma possession potion from his brother or whatever.
I mean, it's just a banishing potion, so that's fine.
You have all the access to your family's spell books and stuff. It feels weird you'd have to go to your brother for this, but... So, the ghost of Matahari in Phoebe's body goes to Jason because Matahari's mad that men killed her, so she's going to get revenge on Phoebe's current ex-boyfriend. Current or possibly ex-boyfriend, I guess.
Yeah. But he doesn't have time for this because he's on his way to a big merger lunch.
As you quoted while we were watching the episode, that bit from the boy band episode of Bob's Burgers, where Tina's having the fantasy about doing business in France.
And that's why we should buy the thing.
Yeah.
With money.
And
I mean, that is literally what his speech sounds like when he gets up there to talk at the merger luncheon. So...
Oh my god, his speech. In this climate of diverse business, diversity is important, which is why this merger will merge our two companies and increase the diversity of our merged companies.
If we want to grow, we should combine our resources so we can tap into markets. That's literally, we should buy the thing with money.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, yeah, they should do a big merger.
He pushes Phoebe out of the way so that he can walk into the building and do this, and she's like, "Oh, you'll regret that." Or my name isn't Phoebe Halliwell, which it isn't because I'm Matahari. Or my name isn't Matahari, which it also isn't because that was a fake name I made up.
It's a hotel ballroom, by the way. Also, we get like long shots of the really extravagant food that's being served. So, put a pin in that.
Hey, what happened last episode when we got a bunch of establishing shots of food?
Yeah, exactly.
But this is it. This is the moment the whole episode has been building up to.
Yeah, his microphone starts, like, giving feedback, and then the lights kind of dim. The crowd parts like the Red Sea, and a follow spot lands on Phoebe. And honestly, like, Matahari in Phoebe's body had to go find the follow spot operator and, like, bribe him so that this could happen.
I'm doing a whole thing. Although, maybe this is a magic thing, because Matahari seems way better at using Phoebe's powers to do shit than Phoebe is.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
So Phoebe walks all sexy, like, up to Jason, and, the crowd parts for her, and she's like, "You betrayed me, and now I'm going to betray you by showing all these reporters my boobs."
She starts, like, ripping the scarves out of the outfit and throwing them all around, and she's like, "I curse this merger!" And then all of the food turns into animals, like frogs and shit, and starts running around, and the champagne corks pop.
Snails and frogs and pigeons, because French.
Okay, everyone starts freaking out and running around. She attacks Jason. I don't understand what... Okay, I gotta jump ahead here.
Yeah.
Later on, Jason's like, I'm so embarrassed. How am I supposed to explain this to people? I feel like if you're in the middle of a business meeting and some random person runs in and starts shouting nonsense, you just call security. People don't blame you. People aren't like, cancel this merger because someone interrupted. This is like a wedding on a sitcom. We said if anyone knows any reason why this merger should not go forward, and Phoebe said something, so now no merger, I guess. What the fuck is this episode? Anyway, that's the...
Also, isn't Phoebe, like, nationally famous? Shouldn't someone have clocked that the world's most famous advice columnist, you know...
Oh, yeah, reporters for the rest of this episode are hounding Jason to ask him what happened and what are you going to do and all this. Not a single person shows up to ask Phoebe.
Also, they were all recording this.
Yeah, all these people now know that magic exists.
Yeah, you know, you're right. They mentioned that, and then they just never resolved that. Piper's like, we'll deal with that later, and then they never mention it again. The fact that all of these people have, like, Phoebe turning all of the food into frogs on camera.
It was a gas leak.
But Piper, everyone's flipping out. There are frogs everywhere. Piper freezes the room, and I'm going to pay this episode another compliment. I really love how this scene is shot. Like, this is really cool.
Yeah, we have Piper making her way through the whole ballroom, and everyone is frozen, and yeah, that is...
Like, she is dipping and weaving between frozen people, and I don't know if they, like, changed how they do freezing in this show, but, like, it looks really good.
Yeah, and it's not just extra standing, I don't think, I don't think it's just extra standing very still, because there is not a bit of movement.
Yeah. But, like, she feels really in the scene. Like, it is really well done.
Yes. Props to this special effect.
Yes. Which, I mean, I'd say it would make sense that the freezing would have gotten that much better with time, except Piper doesn't use it anymore.
Nope. She's just lucky she didn't accidentally blow everybody up.
Wow. Phoebe had a premonition? Piper actually froze time? You know... What is this, a throwback episode?
Leo, they cared about continuity?
Yeah.
Leo shows up, and he's like, wait, why is Phoebe frozen? Because, as you will recall, good witches cannot be frozen. Mm-hmm. And Piper's like, because it's not Phoebe, it's, I don't know, someone else.
Some lady.
Let's orb out of here and let Jason deal with the aftermath.
Oh, Phoebe said that she was going to kill Jason before Piper froze everything. Also, Jason's, like, screaming, Phoebe, Phoebe! No one's noticing that.
Oh, and then just for, like, a dramatic shot out, the ice sculpture of the Eiffel Tower falls and crumbles.
Too subtle.
Matahari couldn't bring down France, but Phoebe brought down the merger of the second largest decade of French whatever.
So they throw Phoebe into a wicker chair and throw a dirndl at her.
They're like, cover yourself up!
And she's, like, ties it around her breasts so they stick out more.
They're trying to figure out who she is, and they're like, okay, she's someone French who's bad. Oh, wait, she hates the French, but she speaks French, and she strips. Oh, Matahari, that's who it is.
I mean, I guess, given those three pieces of information...
You pointed out we were watching this episode... Why does she have to be someone famous?
Yeah.
Why not some random woman who died with bad karma?
It's true.
Why not Helen down the street who is leading a double life and lying to her husband about her gambling addiction? Like, nope, it's Matahari.
Yeah, it could have not been a famous person. It so easily could have not been a famous person. Most people aren't famous.
Right?
But, yeah, Paige reads from Matahari's Encyclopedia Britannica entry.
Yup.
Like, this really does feel directly lifted from the first line on, Wikipedia. But Mata Hari tells them that, I need my freedom. I need my revenge. And Piper's like, what does her karma have to do with Phoebe's karma? And Paige is like, we established this, the lying, the double life. And Piper's like, so that's what we're going with here, okay?
But if her issue was that she was leading a double life as a spy, why is her whole thing right now that she's trying to get revenge? Like, Phoebe's issue wasn't that she was vengeful.
Yeah, I don't know.
I also, this is so nitpicky, but I can't help myself because, whatever, this episode's so bad.
Yeah.
Paige says that Mata Hari was a double agent. No, she was a single agent. She was a spy.
She was a spy for Germany.
A double agent would have been if she was pretending to be a spy for Germany while actually spying for France. She was just a single agent. If that.
So, the swarm demons come. They get Piper on the shoulder, and she's like, why is it always me who gets hit? Which made me think of the Mariner thing from the...
From the Something Borrowed, Something Green episode of Lower Decks.
Lower Decks was so good this season.
But what's weird is then Paige gets like a matching burn. Like, the two of them have matching burns, which is...
Same shoulder, same plate, like... But yeah, Phoebe, like, the swarm guys blorp in, they zap Piper, Piper blows them up, a bunch more blorp in, and Phoebe's like, look out behind you, demons, and the demons zap Paige, because she's a betrayer. It's her thing. She betrays people. That's what Mata Hari's famous for.
Yeah, and then they grab Phoebe and shimmer down, back to hell.
And they're like, the charmed ones were too powerful for us to defeat, but we captured one of them. You could fireball her now.
She's like, you didn't capture me. I'm on your side because I am a sexy spy possessing Phoebe. She doesn't actually tell them that. In fact, she specifically is like, you'll never defeat them, I mean us, without my help.
And then, like, the Swarm King makes to, like, strangle her, and he's like, how do I know this isn't a trick? And she's like, it's not, shut up. The witches double-crossed me, so I'm going to double-cross them. And it's like, they didn't... What? How did they double-cross you? They're like, hey, Mata Hari, get out of our sister. Double-cross!
One of my least favorite things in media is when somebody says that someone betrayed them when the person didn't have any loyalty to them. So it's like, well, no, they didn't betray you. That's... They just trade. Like, the Charmed Ones didn't betray you. You're not on the same team.
So, Mata Hari tells the Swarm leader, look, you can't hurt the Charmed Ones because they have too much good karma. But if a ghost possessing one of the Charmed Ones kills an innocent, then they will have bad karma, and then you can kill them.
This, like, comes to nothing. Like, literally, this doesn't even... It doesn't even matter. Her terrible plan doesn't even matter. Ugh.
So, back at Jason's office, Balthazar Getty comes in. He's like, hey, Jason, can I talk to you about magic or whatever?
And Jason's like, no, I have to go give a press conference to salvage my reputation. Okay, like, what the fuck, man? This is a page 6 thing about rich people getting drunk and fucked up, if it's anything. What are you even talking about?
I mean, I guess if they knew that it was his ex-girlfriend who burst in, then that would look bad on him on a professional level.
Yeah, but it would still be just a gossipy thing that happened. It wouldn't be like...
Yeah, it wouldn't affect the... But Balthazar Getty's like, no, it's my fault she was possessed by Mata Hari, and Jason's like, what?
He's like, is everyone a witch?
And Balthazar Getty's like, look, here's a little potion. You just throw it at her feet, and it'll turn her back to normal. And Jason's like, why can't you just do it if you're a witch?
I mean, I think he's refusing to accept that she's possessed, despite all evidence, which you know what? I'm thinking back on their relationship and fair. Like, that's actually not out of character for Phoebe. Even though she's been possessed at least a decent portion of time that they've been together.
I do really like that both Zargetti just kind of tucks the potion into Jason's front pocket. Like, he's about to go out on a date and it's a condom.
Yeah, because initially Jason isn't going to take it. And then Richard, like you said, tucks it into his inside jacket pocket. He's like, just take this. Back at the Manor, Paige and Piper are, like, bandaging each other up.
That's why it's nice to have a functioning White Lighter in the house. I was going to say, where's Leo? But I guess he took Wyatt up to White Lighter Land, so...
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to worry about him for the rest of the episode. Paige rightly points out that Magic got exposed to a whole bunch of people, and, like, that's going to be an issue, and Piper's like, we can worry about that later, you know, if we're not killed by the Swarm Demon or by Matahari, which you're not going to be killed by the Swarm Demon or Matahari, come on.
Please, right? So, they figured out that Matahari spent her life pleasing men and then was killed by men, so now she hates men and is going to kill Jason.
Again, this feels like a pretty huge leap, but it's right, so... eh.
So Jason is outside being swarmed by press, and he's like, I will answer everything this afternoon at the press conference. And he opens his limo to get into the door, and, like, Phoebe is right there, and he does not see her.
Yeah, like, she's so obviously there. He doesn't notice her until he's physically all the way inside of the limo. The swarm guys teleport in next to Jason because I guess they work for Phoebe now.
And then they all shimmer out so that when Paige and Piper get there and open the door, the car is now empty.
The press all gone now.
Right? Also, they must have assumed that what happened was Phoebe shimmered in and grabbed Jason. And again, that was correct. So now they're back in the maze looking for the demon, the Swarm King, and Phoebe and Jason.
Yeah. So, Jason is in front of a firing squad of swarm demons, and Phoebe's like, such a sweet man. It's such a horrible way to die. I'll shed a tear for you. Maybe.
Jason's like, what the fuck, Phoebe? Can we just not do this right now? And she's like, she keeps taunting him, and then he's like, oh, wait, maybe you actually are possessed, because the amount of nonsense that I put up with from Phoebe, my girlfriend, this is, like, just a touch more nonsensical. So, yeah, I think maybe you are, in fact, possessed. And then he starts, like, fumbling in his pocket trying to find the potion that Richard gave him.
Like, he's really lucky that this firing squad of swarm demons is taking for goddamn effort to actually throw the fireballs at him.
Yeah, they're really milking the moment, which is a grave error on their part. And then Jason finds the potion, and he gives the weakest little toss you've ever seen. His heart is not in it.
He barely flicks his wrist. He barely flicks his wrist. The potion flies at Phoebe, and it blorks all over her. And then she's like, "Wait a second, I don't want Jason to die." And she runs in front of him, and then does this amazing full body flop at the demons as they finally decide to throw their fireballs. And, you know, the full body flop manages to successfully deflect the fireballs back into the demons.
I will point out that she was all like, hey, I'm with you, I'm on your side. And then all of a sudden she's like, wait, just kidding, and then destroyed them all. I know that I know why all that happened, but from their point of view, it's like, oh man, we really shouldn't have trusted that girl.
So the sisters all read the Power of 3 spell, and the Swarm King blows up.
Yep.
And now Jason's super cool with Phoebe.
Haha, just kidding.
I mean, he's way more cool with Phoebe than he was earlier for no reason.
Yeah, but he's still gonna break up with her.
Is he?
Yeah, they're broken up now.
Yeah. But he says, I'm just going to need some time to think this over.
Yeah, everyone knows what that means. We never see him again.
I don't know. I think Phoebe was the one who really pulled the trigger on this.
Never seen or heard from again.
Probably dead.
Okay, so we get this weird shot. This, like, weird, ominous shot through Richard's mansion. And him, like, opening the door to his stockroom. And it's all, like, dark lighting and Dutch angles because magic's an addiction. And now that he's done some of it, he's, like, off the wagon or whatever.
Yeah, it's real reefer madness. He's laughing to himself as he shuts himself off in the potion room.
That is exactly what it is. It's reefer madnessy.
So Piper's like, I can't believe the sweet innocent boy's going to become the king of all evil. And Leo's like, maybe don't say that directly in front of him.
Wait, Leo's like, I don't think he could ever become evil. And Piper's like, Chris literally came back in time because he became evil. Pay attention.
And Leo's like, well, now that we know to look out for it, couldn't we just stop it from happening?
Right?
Maybe you could stop murdering people in front of him all the time. That'd probably be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I understand where Piper's coming from here. But Leo's like, all parents worry about their kids, Piper. It's a natural thing. And Piper's like, yeah, but our kid isn't some loser kid. He's, like, actually important. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, well, everyone thinks their kid is important, Piper. But, yeah, why it's omnipotent or whatever. So I guess it's a good point. Behind his powers. But.
Yeah. But Leo believes in them. He believes that they can be good enough parents that Wyatt will stay good.
That's optimistic of you, but okay.
So now Jason is going to the merger dinner to try to save the merger and also do a press conference. And Phoebe shows up and she's like, let me go in there and talk to them. I'll tell them it was my fault and I'll fix it all. And he's like, what are you going to do? And
what are you going to say?
What are you going to say?
How are you going to explain turning all the food into frogs? And Phoebe's like, I didn't think about that. And it's like, well, I hope someone did, because that was all on film. Jason's going to go out there and be like, I planned an elaborate prank because of how much I actually hate French people. Like, what's Jason going to say?
Who knows? It doesn't matter because they break up here on the steps and we don't have to worry about it.
Jason's like, you know what? I thought about it and it turns out it's all my fault. Like, I was too busy traveling and thinking about work and not putting your feelings first, and therefore it's my fault that you're a witch who ruined my merger by being possessed by the ghost of Mata Hari.
He didn't give her the space to confess to being a witch.
Okay, I wish you could see the face journey I'm going on right now, because...
You teach people how to treat you, Max.
My God. Apparently, because he's like, it's all my fault. I'm sorry, Phoebe. You were a perfect, blameless creature. Honestly, it feels like we're kind of speedrunning the whole Cole thing here.
Yeah. He's also like, hey, listen, I see now that witches are necessary because apparently demons also exist. And I definitely want to not see a demon ever again. So keep on fighting demons and stay away from me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wait, there's something important that we didn't say.
Okay.
So, and this is true to the story of Mata Hari. I don't know how, as I said, I don't know how true all this is.
Yeah.
But apparently when she was executed, she, stared down the firing squad.
Yes, Phoebe did mention that when Jason was about to get fireballed by all those dudes.
So then when they break up and he, leans in and gives her the goodbye kiss, she keeps her eyes open because she's, staring down the end of their relationship.
Yeah. And he's like, I need time. And she's like, goodbye forever, I guess. And she wanders sadly off into the rain.
That outfit is not rain-friendly. That's all I can think.
It is not.
And that's the episode.
Bye, Jason. You were...
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, you know what? Next week's Gideon. Next week is our reward for getting through this episode.
Yes.
Next week is Gideon, and it's the Headless Horseman, and it's Charmed talking about morality.
Yeah, next week's episode is The Legend of Sleepy Halliwell. Gideon wants to know who conjured the Headless Horseman who is beheading teachers.
Yay!
It's weird how the description, like...
assumes that we already know what magic school is and who Gideon is.
Right?
This is the episode that introduces that. And magic school is going to be a big thing for the rest of Charmed. Or rather, it's going to be a big thing for the next, like, season and a half, and then it's going to be a convenient place to drop Wyatt, and then it's going to be overrun by demons.
Yep, even though it's supposed to be so safe the demons can't get in there.
Yeah. Except for the ones that they keep on campus for the purpose of torture?
I don't know.
Well, we'll get there. But yeah, that was this episode, and woof, this was so bad. But you know what? There were a few cool things in there. I will stand up for that thing with the Piper freezing effect. That was cool. I like that.
And I did genuinely like Leo's like kind of casual coming back into the dining room after he had orbed in through the kitchen.
There were two things we liked about this episode.
Yeah. All right.
Much like the Charmed ones, we have our own power of 3. The first power in our pack is Premonition, who in this episode is, was, or will become famous.
Okay, so I am very much stretching famous and also in this episode.
All right. Go on.
So in the swarm of reporters was Lisa Canning.
Okay.
Who,
actual reporter.
And I just love when they do that. I love when they have... And, like, if you look at her IMDb page, it's like all the parts she plays is, like, reporter. And I love that. I love when they do that. Also, IMDb trivia tells me that she is Sarah Canning's half-sister.
Huh.
For those of you who are way too into podcasts, which you are if you're listening to us.
All right, I think that'll take us to the second power in our pack. Time freeze. What specifically dated this episode?
Okay, so a lot of our listeners might not have actually even been born yet when this happened.
Okay.
So I feel like I kind of need to explain
freedom fries.
Yeah, like, all right, so after
9/11,
oh god,
which you might remember from the fact that people make jokes about 9/11 a lot now. Like, I feel like I mostly see it in a joke context, which is weird considering it was a national tragedy that launched off a series of horrifying global events.
Yep. And some of those global events were two wars. And we just went all willy-nilly because America. And so then Republicans got very, very angry that other countries weren't supporting our just random thrashing out. And so there was this real hatred of France that came up because France wouldn't support us. And it included things like cafeterias changed their listings of French fries to freedom fries.
As an FU to the French, because...
Which is ridiculous because French is the name of the style in which it's cut. But anyway, they're Frenched fried potatoes. Anyway, yeah, so when Paige says, freedom fries language, and then also just the general, like, oh, I hate the French, and that thing that happened here in this episode.
It was very of the time.
It was the style at the time. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I if you didn't live through it, I don't know if you can know, but when Paige said the phrase freedom fries, it all came flooding back to me, and it was horrific.
It's so weird how society has changed on 9/11. Like, the fact that now it's the thing where SpaghettiOs puts up this weird never forget thing on their official Twitter page that has, like, an anthropomorphic SpaghettiOs saluting the Twin Towers, and you're like, why would you do that?
Well, now we have a full generation of adults who weren't alive when it happened.
Yeah. It feels weird. I guess it's because it's the first real national tragedy that happened in my lifetime that I was, like, aware of.
Yeah, it's the thing where it's like if you lived through it, everyone knows where they were
Yeah.
on 9/11.
And it's sort of weird that it's just this weird amorphous past tragedy to a lot of adult people right now.
Yeah. Oof, we're getting old. We're sounding like old people. We're talking about kids these days. It's just history. Ugh. History just needs to chill out for like 6 months.
Yeah, we've had a lot of history the past few days.
Yeah.
Which I know it was never the case, and, this always had, all politics always had big ripple effects other places, but I really miss when politics felt boring.
Well, it used to feel like you could elect your representatives and then just trust them to represent you and not, like...
And to be fair, we can.
Because we live in Oregon.
We live in Oregon, and Ron Wyden is awesome. I'm not trying to do the thing where I stan politicians, because that's always bad, but whenever I, go to call him about something, I immediately see that it's something he's working on already, so...
Yeah. Ugh. Anyway, next segment.
Telekinesis. What, if anything, genuinely moved you? I thought that shot was cool.
Leo coming out of the kitchen!
Like, this was a real rough one.
It was rough.
This one was a chore.
But we're done! Oh, that's what genuinely moved me. Be done!
We're done. And next week we get Gideon, we get Magic School, we get the decapitation fetish episode. It's
Chris will be back.
Chris will be back.
I missed Chris.
I missed Chris too. It's like fucking Christmas next week.
Ah.
Yeah. Not intentional.
Alright, that's going to do it for this week.
Yeah, that'll about do it for this week.
Our show's partially listener supported. If you want to be one of the supporters, you should head over to our website, www.welcometotelevision.net, and click on our Patreon link. We'd like to thank our current $5 and above patrons, Beryl, Patricia, Rosa, Ryan, Maricruz, Benjamin, Kate, Jen, Dan, Anthony, and Daniel.
If you'd like to support the show in other ways, you could always rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find the show.
If you want to talk about this episode or any episode of any television show, you can find us on Blue Sky at Welcome to Television, or you can email us at ilovetelevisionzines@gmail.com.
So until next time, I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And this has been Welcome to the Halliwell Manor.